Or you can begin with opening the meeting.
All right, thank you. Welcome to Protection and Policy for May 11th at 1 p.m. I'll take a roll call. Alder Stoyer is here. Do we have Alder Vanderleest?
Here.
Alder Lefebvre?
Here.
Alder Stevens?
Here.
All present and accounted for.
Okay, on to approval of the agenda.
I entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
So move.
Okay, by Vanderleest, second by Lefebvre. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, that passes unanimously. Next, we have the approval of the minutes. We have a motion
Motion to approve.
by Stevens. Do we have a second? Second by Lefebvre. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 That passes unanimously. That's a hard word to say. I'll wait for you, Joanne.
Yeah, we are set for item number 1.
Okay. Item number 1, consideration with possible action on an appeal by Stephanie Lardnoy at 1026 South Irwin Avenue regarding the denial of her permit to have more than 2 dogs at her residence. I don't know if you want to start, Attorney Bungert or Mallory, whatever way you think we should start on this. Attorney Bungert?
A little bit ago that she may be a little late due to an emergency animal call.
I see.
Yes, so I'm not sure if we can.
I prefer to hold off on this until she arrives.
Okay, we can do that. So we can just hold and move on to the next item.
Okay, I'll wait till she comes in and then we can adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I
All
don't
right.
think I see her on.
Okay.
Okay.
One thing I was going to say to everybody present, these meetings are long oftentimes, and we need to hold our comments for just 3 minutes, and for alders twice for 5 minutes. So let's hold to that, and I think we can keep the meeting moving. All right.
All right, 1 second. Okay, we are on to item number 2.
Okay. Next, consideration with possible action on a request by Scogan's Food Liner Inc. at 2430 University Avenue to amend their licensed premises to include stalls in the parking lot specifically designated for online grocery pickup.
Yes, so staff's recommendation at this point is to deny the request. As the alders probably recall, we've had several discussions on this type of activity. Staff did present an ordinance to regulate click and go orders as requested on a couple of occasions, and that ordinance was not passed by council. And accordingly, because we do not have an ordinance in place that would appropriately regulate this type of activity, staff's recommendation is to deny at this time.
Police?
The police concur.
Okay, I have a question about that. I know we were dealing with that issue with alcohol pickup, I believe, correct, Joanne?
Yes. So what we had recently passed is an ordinance with a sunset provision. That ordinance does expire once the restrictions on bars and restaurants subsides. And that what is allowed specifically under state statute for a municipality to enact. And that allows for the sale of intoxicating liquor from a Class B establishment, so a restaurant or a bar, that normally is limited to limited to sales for on-premise consumption, and that allows the sale of sealed original containers of intoxicating liquor for off-premise consumption. So basically in layman's terms, that would mean somebody could go into a restaurant or a bar, purchase a bottle of vodka in the sealed original container, and leave the bar or restaurant with that bottle for consumption at home.
I guess one of the questions I had was, I'm going on, I was looking at this, maybe I'm wrong, but looking at it in terms of grocery pickup as well. Am I off base here?
No, that does not apply to grocery pickup because that is limited to Class B licenses specifically. A grocery store, it has a license for off-premise consumption, meaning you purchase beer or alcohol, such as at a grocery store or a liquor store, for consumption at home. That is a Class A license.
All right.
The ordinance that we enacted allows for a Class B license, which normally doesn't allow sales for off-premise consumption, to be able to do that for this limited duration during the COVID-19 shutdown period.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with groceries at all. It's just alcohol.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Committee, does anybody have any, or Barb, would you, Alderdorf? Go ahead.
Is this about parking stalls or is this about liquor? I thought it was about.
Yes, so it is about basically a festival is a Class A licensee. They want to add parking stalls to be part of their licensed premise description so that they can do online sales of alcohol and beer, or liquor and beer, and for those to be part of a grocery pickup or a singular pickup of just alcohol and beer to be carried out to those parking stalls. The reason that staff's recommendation is to deny is because we don't have an ordinance to allow that type of activity and to regulate that activity to ensure that the licensee is complying with all statutory requirements, namely that driver's license and age is being verified and that the sale is face-to-face, which is required under the law.
Right. All I was asking, it seemed like the agenda item was about adding parking stalls, but really it's with the underlying reason.
It's adding parking stalls as part of their licensed premise which they can conduct sales. Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
I understand.
Was there anybody else that wanted?
Alder
Gal? Yes, go ahead. Alder LaFave?
Yes, I appreciate clarification because there's nowhere does it say that this is kind of like an end run around where we denied them to have drive-through liquor. I really kind of upset with them. This should have been more clarified. I thought it was for groceries. I didn't realize it was for their liquor. And so I'm glad for the clarification because I definitely will not approve that.
Okay, thank you. Alder Vanderleest or Alder Galvin, do you have something to add on that?
Yeah, just, and I appreciate Barb and Mark, you asking the questions because that was my same concern. Although Alder LaFave, I don't think they were trying here. It's merely the wording for what they're asking for. It's a proper way to word it. And it's our responsibility to read through these applications and understand exactly what they're asking for. So I don't think Festival was trying to pull one over on us. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Alder Vanderleest, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, can you hear me, Mark?
Yes, I can.
I would make a motion that we receive and place on file both 2 and 3 of E. That we're not going to take any action on this. Just receive and place on file both 2 and 3 because they both are talking about the same specific grocery pickup. And I understand what what the proposal is and everything, but I think we can just receive and place on file and then move forward.
Okay.
The appropriate motion would be to deny both.
Then I would make a motion to deny.
We would have to do that individually.
Okay, I make a motion to deny then.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Can we look at the next? Do we have to discuss the next one in length as well? It's basically the same item. But in a
No,
different
we can
location.
do the next one quick, and then I believe Officer Mavis did call in, so
Yes,
we can
I
go
see
back
that.
to item number 3.
Right.
So we
Alder
can,
Vanderleest, do you want to do that again?
Yes, I'd make the motion to deny for the East Mason one as well, for
Okay.
the grocery pickup.
Second.
Second by Stevens. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes as well. Unanimous, at least the denial. And when you're ready, Attorney Bungert, I'll get going back to number 1.
okay, we are set for number 1.
All right, let me read this again. All right, number 1, consideration with possible action on an appeal by Stephanie Lardnoy at 1026 South Irwin Avenue regarding the denial of her permit to have more than 2 dogs at her residence. So, Officer Mavis is here as well, so how do you want to proceed with this?
I just, if I could just do a couple, just housekeeping matters. We haven't had
Okay,
this kind of appeal
right.
before in front of the committee. So in an effort to maintain fairness and efficiency, I would recommend just setting some time limits for each
Right.
party. I would do 5 minutes for the police department, and then 5 minutes for the appellant, and then an additional 3 minutes for each party for rebuttal. This
Okay.
permit is governed by our ordinance, section 3-18. Under that ordinance, individuals are allowed to have 2 dogs at a residence. Anything over that number, they have to get an excess animal permit.
Okay.
And that permit is applied for and reviewed by our humane officer, Officer Mavis. She looks at a number of factors in determining whether to grant this permit. And these are the factors that the committee should be considering with respect to this appeal. Those factors are, please bear with me, number and type of animals to be possessed, the applicant's criminal record, including any animal-related police calls, prior history of the animals, health of the animals, whether proper licenses and vaccinations have been obtained, the condition of the applicant's residence where the animals are to be kept, the likelihood of a public or private nuisance that would be created, any other factors determined to be relevant by the humane officer. If the committee does determine after today's proceedings that the relevant if the committee determines after today's proceedings that the applicant possesses the qualifications in this section, the Protection and Policy Committee can make its recommendation to either reverse the decision or uphold the denial and forward its recommendation to Common Council.
Okay, that's fine. So with the time limits, and I have a stopwatch here as well, so I'm going to work to do that better as well. I'm thinking in the past that we've had the citizen often. I'd almost like to have Officer Mavis, if she wouldn't mind speaking initially. Would that be all right?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, Officer Mavis.
Hi, guys. Good afternoon.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
This is my second time logging into Zoom. So
Yeah.
I apologize for being late. I had to take a call here.
Yeah.
We had gotten a call, an animal-related call for some animal complaints, accumulation of animal waste, the number of dogs at the property. There was 3 dogs, and there were other issues, excessive barking. I brought Inspector Tim Meaves with me, and there was an issue where there was multiple vehicles parking on the street, multiple vehicles parking behind the residence. There were large ruts across the yard. So there are ordinance issues as well, accumulated trash, broken windows. So when I did a property search, I discovered that it was a property owned by, I believe Sampson was the last name. And it was the occupants were renting to own. And so I was not able to make contact at that time with the resident. I left a notice in the door explaining we had a 2-dog limit in the city. If they want to obtain a permit, they need to apply for one to be exempt from the city's 2-dog ordinance. Licenses were required, which is proof that the state required rabies vaccine. The dog feces that was in the backyard needed to get cleaned up, as well as inspection orders that needed to take place with inspections as far as tidying that up. one of the things that I had noticed was that there was a dog tie out that would come from like the rear entry area, and it was actually able to go onto the neighbor's property, and the dogs were defecating on the neighbor's property, and that was where some of the grass had also been just dug up from this large pit, just driving right through and parking in the backyard. So when I spoke with the animal owner, Stephanie Lardnois, I kind of explained that, hey, you know what, look, there's things that we need to fix here in order for it to be okay. Now, we have not gotten any more complaints as far as the animals go. However, when I did send out the neighbor letters, I did get quite a few back from property owners and tenants within the area that I could not safely and comfortably approve that, knowing that if I allowed that this was not going to create a nuisance in the neighborhood. I know Alderman Galvin, some of the constituents wanted to remain anonymous, and I advised them, hey, feel free to voice your concern to the alderperson. If you don't feel comfortable contacting law enforcement, and he could maybe relay some of your concerns to us so that we one of the complaints that came through was the Mastiff dog that was owned there got loose from the property and was chasing someone down the sidewalk. And again, we haven't had any new complaints, but based on the number of letters received, I think that this needs to be addressed further.
Oh, okay, thank you. Alder Galvin, you're the alder in the area.
Yep, thank you. And I would have to concur basically with what Mallory has said. I've never met the people that live at the address in question, but numerous violations, ordinance violations from those residents. We've been in contact with the city inspector on this, who's taken some action. I had a number of residents reach out to me and relay their concerns to me. And basically it boiled down to, because of all the ordinance violations that have been committed by the residents of this home, and some of the reaction that they have exhibited toward the neighbors were the ones that had turned them in. They are very concerned about allowing 3 dogs there. As we all know, as alders, once we give them that right to have 3 dogs, it's very hard to withdraw that 3rd dog there should the complaints and the action continue. So I would have to say that I'm going to side with the neighbors that this be denied.
Thank you. Stephanie Lardnois is here if she'd like to speak. Stephanie, are you there? She's muted right now.
Oh, sorry. One moment.
Yeah.
Alders, I'm sorry, we have to do a motion to open.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, can we pause for a second? We need
Yes.
to do a motion to open the floor.
Yes, you're correct.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion for this?
Motion to open the floor.
Alder Stevens, and then seconded by Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, Stephanie, please state your name and address for the record.
Stephanie Lardnois, address 1026 South Irwin Avenue, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54301.
Okay. Well, you have the floor, so discuss the situation. We've read a number of the letters and such, and it's your turn.
Yes, me and my fiance are trying to obtain a permit. The 3rd dog is not our dog. It is my to-be brother-in-law's dog. He's in the Army. He's going to be gone for 3 years. So we kind of took his dog in. He was living in Michigan, going through a bad breakup, and they didn't.
Hello? Seems like she's breaking up.
There may be a little bit of a delay. You can give it a minute.
Okay. If she can't get in, I don't know so much the committee if we close the floor. I don't know. I'd like to hear from her first.
It looks like her connection dropped.
Okay, what do you suggest?
Can we just make a motion to hold this until she comes back?
We could do that.
We should close the floor and then we can hold until she returns.
Okay, motion to close
Motion to close the floor.
by Stevens. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, Alder Stevens, do you want to do that then? Make a
Okay.
motion?
Yeah, just make a motion to hold this until she returns.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second that motion.
Second by Vanderleest. All in favor? Aye.
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 I'll look in. All right, do we need to move on to another item then?
Yes, just one moment. All right, so we would be on item number 4.
Okay. Consideration with possible action on a request by White Dog LLC at 201 South Broadway to amend their liquor license premises to include an outdoor patio. Staff.
Yes, grabbing my notes here. The fence actually meets all of the requirements. Accordingly, staff has no objections.
Police?
Please concur with law.
Motion
Do you have
to
a motion?
approve, Mark.
Pardon?
Motion to approve.
Approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Stevens. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. I'll wait for you, Joanne, then I'll move
Okay.
on.
It looks like Stephanie Lardenois is back on, so we can move back to
Okay.
item number 1. Just toggling through to set current.
I don't have to reread anything, I hope.
No,
All right.
Motion to open the floor.
Okay, by Stevens. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Stephanie, are you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry, my phone got hot and it went into emergency mode.
Oh, okay. All right, well, you got the floor again, and then you already stated your name and address for the record, so go ahead. So describe, the reason why you feel you should have 3 dogs.
The third dog, his name is Meatball. He's been in and out of the shelter 3 or 4 times already. And the last owner who brought him back, he had 2 gouges on his side. He's a big boy. Like, his name is Meatball for a reason. He's a brown lab mastiff mix. So his bark is big, but he's a big baby. I've been working with him and he's come very, very far. And I would love to keep working with him. He's become a part of my family. My kids love him. He's always on a leash when we are outside. I've read some of the complaints online where I guess some of it might have started by someone saying we have 2 pit bulls and another large dog that feels that makes children feel unsafe around us, which we don't have 2 pit bulls. We have a husky. He's overweight, and we have one pit bull who is very tiny. I've actually I did come in contact with some neighbors that I seen out. We have one diagonally in front of us who has children, so I didn't know if her kids felt unsafe. And I'm like, well, I was wondering. She said they're her grandkids. They're afraid of anything that jumps, honestly. And she said she doesn't care. Her more concern was the rural small home. Was to our other neighbor who shares the same property line in the backyard with us. His name is Aaron. Aaron LaCrosse. He lives at 65 Emily Street. He said he did not have any objections with our dogs. Our dogs are never even in their yard. People were saying my dog charged them down, but there was never a complaint issued to us about any of that. So I couldn't see how this happened when he's always on a leash. Another one, if we have 2 dogs, they are free to not go outside of their yard. I'm just trying to think. I talked to another neighbor. Her name is Denise, or Audrey Schmidt, we also share a property line with her. She threw the letter, like Aaron and Audrey, they threw the letter away because they didn't know who it was pertaining to, and they honestly didn't care. And I figured our direct neighbors probably meant a little more than other people around us who don't see us. I know there's been some complaints about things in the property. There was things left there from Jamie. We took care of it all. Every time we got the letter, we made sure we were trying to get up to everything. The animal feces, it was winter, it was cold. Yeah, we slacked on that a little bit, but if anyone comes to our yard any other day of the week, there's nothing in there. We've cleaned it up. We've restacked all of the wood. We've gotten rid of a bunch of things. We obtained a storage unit. We've obtained all the license, got all the records of vaccines. I have meatballs. Gave to them when getting my license all the way back to 2015.
Okay, 1 minute, Stephanie. You got 1 minute left. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Where it states that he's a friendly dog, not human aggressive. He just barks at things of his past, but he's a good boy. If I can trust him around my 3 children, and mind you, my oldest is 4, my youngest is a year. They love him. I love him. Like I said, this is a to-be brother-in-law's dog who is in the Army, who was full of beef before this whole pandemic, but his base got put on lockdown. He's in Colorado. He'll be transitioning to California, and then after that, he was supposed to go to Syria, but he will be going to Afghanistan.
Okay, you're starting to break up, Stephanie. Stephanie, your time's up right now. We'll have it. You'll have a chance to come back one more time. Okay. All right. I was going to ask the committee if they've read. Well, go
Mark,
ahead.
you want to close the floor?
Right, we need to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
By Vanderleest, second. Who we have a second?
Second.
Second by Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. I wanted to ask the committee if they've read any of this over and what their thoughts are. Anybody?
Mark, I'd just make a comment.
Go ahead, John.
According to our officer that handles the dog control, she don't seem like she's in favor of another dog at that premise, nor does Alter Galvin. I don't know if Alter Galvin has been over to that area or not. We'd have to ask him if he's been there to see the actual presence of what goes on. But it doesn't sound, as if our community officer that's working with animal control is not in favor, nor the alderman, or there's quite a few different, letters of not support. In other words, that's kind of the drift that we got so far, that, staff and people are not in supportive of it.
Right.
Somebody else can weigh in and see how they feel about it.
Alder Stevens or Alder LaFave?
Was there letters of non-support?
Yeah, I didn't see anybody that really wanted this. There were a number of neighbors that wrote some letters, but I don't else in support of having 3 dogs here. I guess my question would be, go ahead, John.
I read one of the letters here, and I wouldn't go by that. They just classify the type of dogs as being aggressive. It doesn't mean that the dog is aggressive. Yeah, I mean, all dogs can be aggressive. It doesn't make any difference what breed they are. But yeah, this is kind of a hard one in a way. There were things that happened according to her letters, but I'm going to have a hard one deciding on this one.
Can I ask a question of Officer Mavis?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Yes, Officer. Nobody's asked but the 3 dogs, if they have to take one of the dogs off premise, I presume it goes back to the pound, or what happens? That you think? Is there anything that you know of that will be the next step?
Well, at this point, the concerns that the neighbors had, when we hand out those neighborhood letters, it says the address of where the animal request is. So it does identify the address. And then I also put in parentheses in there what types of dogs. Okay. So
Right.
the people have the option to understand what's potentially going to be living next door to them or in a surrounding area. So if a dog were to get loose, they can voice their concerns. Is my concern with this permit in particular is that several I feel comfortable with it. And my concern is the likelihood of a nuisance or fear in this. The animal doesn't have to go, they could try to rehome the animal. Process behind it is, it sounds like this is a gentleman who owns the dog, who is either temporarily staying there and is deployed of a placement this is going to be. I don't know if it's long-term or if this is temporary, and if he's able to provide that animal with a home given his lifestyle at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, Alder Galvin.
Thank you. And this is the problem when it's neighbor versus neighbor. Neighbors don't like to be confrontational with each other or to put themselves in a light where there could be possibly retribution in the future. There was one neighbor that does not live near enough to have received a letter from Officer Mavis that related an incident that occurred when he was out walking his small dog, where he felt he was attacked by the dogs or a dog house. And he was, the dog actually made contact with him physically, not with his dog. And he was very frightened by this. The dog just made contact with him, and then the owners were able to get it under control. But he was very concerned. He was on the sidewalk. This dog did not come up to be petted. Actually was protecting its property, which is, what some dogs do. The other residents that were part of this letter campaign expressed their concerns to me, and I don't know if they sent a letter in or not, but again, some of them expressed where, because of the other ordinance violations in the past, where the city was involved in ordering corrections, there were comments made to them by residents of this home that they felt that these residents were the ones that complained. That concerned them greatly. And that's not the way you handle things. If you're in violation of city ordinance and the city orders you to make corrections, you voice retribution or anything else at your neighbors, you take care of your problem. That's your problem to take care of. So again, that concerns me. And so I would have to say again, if, even if we give them a 6-month window to have this dog there, or we give it to them again, I want to emphasize how hard it is to take that away once we grant it. Once you open that Pandora's box, it's very difficult to close it. And so again, that's my concern, having our heartstrings pulled here. And we have concern about that. And this guy's, the owner is a serviceman, and he's been deployed. My daughter has a dog right now for a serviceman that was deployed to. So, I understand how that works, but I can't in good conscience endorse having a third dog at this residence.
Okay. Thank you, Alder. I would like to have Stephanie's have one more chance at this, so I would ask for a motion to open the floor.
Motion to open the floor.
So moved.
By Vanderleest, second Lefebvre, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Stephanie, you have the floor again. I guess you've heard some of the testimonies, so I guess one of the questions I would have to ask is, it's not work out, is there an alternative for the dog, I guess?
We don't really have one. Everyone we know lives and rents in small, like little 1-bedrooms that aren't even in this county or by us. I don't know we wouldn't know what to do. We don't want him to go back to, it's such an uncertain situation after he got brought back with 2 large incisions on his stomach. I wouldn't want to personally chance it. Because you can't tell. He's a good boy, and
right.
Every dog is. He's 7 years old. He's getting in his golden years. I want him to have his forever home where he can just relax, which he does. slowly coming more and more out of his comfort zone. He's been very timid and very afraid to begin with. And he's come a long way. He used to take food from my kids' hands. He doesn't do that no more. He used to be uncertain about our dogs. He isn't. They all sleep together in the same room all the time. He loves to hang out with the kids. I know when I did my appeal, I sent some pictures with him with my children to show he is a good boy. I sent a picture of our backyard, which we obviously, as you've heard, he owns the property, but come the end of this month, like on the 27th, the papers are being signed over to my fiance and it will become his house. Fence that I put in the email and I've talked to Officer Mavis about. I know she said it's kind of a iffy thing if you say you're going to put one up and you don't, but we planned on putting one up. We're not from Green Bay. I think that's a busy road. I don't want my kids playing in it. So we planned on putting a big giant privacy fence up. But obviously with renting, why would you put money into something and only renting at the time? Just to make the property value go up more, I guess.
Okay. Well, like I said, it's a hard situation because, we read the letters and we understand it's never an easy situation, but we wanted you to have the opportunity to speak a couple of times on this. This will be your level. Anything else you want to add before we close the floor?
I just hope people aren't doing it just because we're a younger couple, new in the neighborhood. And I know reading the complaints where it says 2 pit bulls, and I know there's some people afraid of just that animal breed in general in the neighborhood. And I just don't know if they're doing it because of that, because it definitely feels personal. But we've tried to correct everything. We don't really communicate with our neighbors. But that being said, we are about to fully sign over on this house, the closing day. Like to have a better relationship with our neighbors versus just to hate living there for how many years because we had to lose a member of my family. I tell my kids, sorry, he's gotta go. My son sat with me for an hour on the floor crying when we got our denial letter. It's hard.
I understand. All right, Stephanie, we'll have to talk about it. So thank you for your testimony and we'll
and if there's any recommendations or I don't know, I guess this is my first time at this. We came from Oconto County. Oconto County, you can have 3 dogs before needing a permit, and we didn't think anything of it to begin with. We would like to make the best of this and do everything that we need to do. If it is getting a privacy fence up with in a month, we don't care. We want to do what we can to keep him.
I just want to let you know that there's nothing personal with any of this. We're looking at the ordinances that we do have, and we're in a city location, so the smaller, and it's part of that. So there's a lot of factors there's nothing personal here. So anyway, right. Well, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Okay, I would make a motion to close the floor. Is there somebody make a motion for that?
Motion to close the floor.
Okay, by Stevens. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Well, these are never easy. I've been through a bunch of these, and I think we all have. We've sat through these, and it's tough. It's a tough thing, but I look at it from the standpoint of the ordinance that we do have in place, and that Officer Mavis gave, and the Alder Galvin, that's his district. So I lean pretty heavily on that. So I would tend to agree with Officer Mavis and Alder Galvin. Anybody else, any of the other alders or committee?
If we go ahead and deny it, what's the process? How long do they have to remove the dog? Actually, they can choose any dog. They don't have to have just, the big dog could stay there, right? As long as it's 1 or 2. So there are different things to look at. What timeline is there to have them to remove one of the dogs, and then where would it go? Would it go back to the? And I think that would be one place too that you should talk to the Humane Society and about finding a placement for that dog, permanent placement for the dog.
Officer Mavis? Officer Mavis, could you check?
Sorry, I'm just trying to turn on my speaker here. So the option, I'm not sure of the time frame. Normally I give people a month to get down to the number of animals or apply for a permit to be able to possess them. I do have, there's some information, I'll have to find it, about actually trying to place the dog. I don't know if this brother-in-law is planning to live there after he returns from deployment or training. I'm not sure where he's at. I know he's not stationed here in Wisconsin. So that being said, I don't know if they would qualify for like a military leave for the dog to go somewhere to stay with someone who's willing. Sorry, my radio's coming through here. If that would be an option, or if they can reach out to a breed-specific rescue, that's also an option. The Wisconsin Humane Society is always an option as well. But I think if this gentleman is onto this dog, given his, his deployment and everything else like that, he might be best to reach out to an organization that does care for people's pets when they are deployed.
Okay. Alder LaFave, does that suffice?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Now, let's see, now the deployed person has to reach out to, I don't understand how, where he goes to get that, get the thing going. Sorry, I'm tired. I didn't sleep too well last night. I'm tired. I'm not getting it across right.
I have some materials that I would be able to locate. I was just looking through my my clipboard here. I don't have them, but I should have some in my office. It is for military members.
Could you share that with Ms. Lardnoy? I would appreciate that. Okay, anybody else? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we deny the third dog at this premises with the condition that the gentleman who is deployed, that he reaches out to the military and finds a placement for the dog until he is released from his employment, his deployment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you guys still there? Am I able to just say something quick?
Sure.
Okay, so I just pulled up on my computer Dogs on Deployment, and then also Military Foster Program, which is PACT for Animals. That they have information on there. I can send that out to the requester.
Okay, that would be good.
That would be good, yes.
Attorney Bunger, does that sound good for a motion?
The motion should really, so the motion isn't, or the item isn't, right, the item isn't to either to issue the permit, it's the appeal of the denial. So it would be a motion to deny the appeal with a recommendation that the owner of the animal reach out to, who is currently deployed, to reach out to available resources to rehome the animal.
Okay.
Alder LaFave, is that
my motion? Thank you.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Stevens. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous.
Just one moment to jot this down.
We're waiting for you, Attorney Bunger.
Yes, 1 second. Just wanted to jot that down. That was
All right. Okay.
odd, or not a typical motion. Okay,
Yeah.
so it looks like
Number 5.
we are number 5. And yes, Alder Stoyer, I'm not sure if you did mention for all those who are listening that everything we do here is just recommended.
You are correct. Yes, this will be going to, this is a recommendation by this committee. It will be going to City Council on May 19th at 6 p.m. You may enter that meeting and also request to be heard at that as well. Okay.
All right. We are on to number 5.
Number 5, consideration with possible action on a request by Cock and Bull Inc. at 1237 Main Street to amend his liquor license to include an outdoor patio on the west side of the building. Staff.
Yes. So the proposed fence for this premise for the outdoor patio is to be 5 feet in height, but it will be impervious. Accordingly, we do need a waiver of the requirements with respect to the height because our ordinance requires 6 feet. So
what does it require?
So the example, I'm sorry, 6 feet.
6 feet.
And they are proposing 5 feet.
Okay. So what's your request? What is your, what are you stating then? That you're against this?
No, that we just, we don't really have, it's more of a policy consideration for the committee. My recommendation would be that if the committee does want to approve this, we just need to recommend that the ordinance requirements related to height be waived. So an example motion would be to recommend that council waive the ordinance requirements related to height for an outdoor licensed premise and to approve the proposed outdoor premise as presented.
Okay. All right. Police?
The police don't have an issue with this outdoor patio. I know about the ordinance, but since it's been granted for other places, that we have no issue with this one either.
Okay. Well, we have the owner here, so I would entertain a motion to open the floor.
Motion to open the floor.
By Vanderleest, do we have a second? Do we have a second by Lefebvre? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the floor is now open, and Mr. Gregg, if you'd like to speak to this, I guess I'd like to know the fact that you have a 5-foot fence and you're looking at, our city attorney was talking about a 6-foot fence. I'd like to just hear your description about that. You're on mute. You're on mute right now, but can you do it? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, state your name and address for the record. Thanks.
My name is Daryl Gregg. I live at 1550 Huron Road, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Did you hear the question, Mr. Gregg?
Yeah. I don't know why the architect put that. If you wanted 6, we'll make it 6. It's not a big deal.
So it isn't built yet?
No.
Okay.
No.
I wasn't
we'll make
sure
it 6 feet. That's fine. I'd probably rather have it 6 feet. You got stuff in there. People will crawl after you close. 6 feet's fine.
All right, I thought maybe there was an issue with that.
No.
Was there anything else you wanted to add to it? I know that you made an addition. Well, did you take over the old antique store?
Over the old what?
Was there an antique store right next door to your building?
No.
No. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Anything else you want to add? Otherwise, we'll discuss.
No, thanks. Thanks for listening.
All right, you bet. Nice seeing you. All right, I'd entertain a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
By Vanderleest, do we have a second?
Again.
Second by Stevens, all in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. All right.
Mark, I just got a quick question for our city attorney.
Yes, go ahead.
I think they're looking to revive this ordinance to begin with, as far as the heights of the requirements. And they haven't quite completed that. Is that correct?
Yes, we're still working. It's right now it's 6 feet. So it's two components. It's 6 feet and impervious.
But yep. Moving forward, do you think what is going to be the height moving forward? Have you discussed that part of it?
I'm not entirely sure. Just from recollection, I believe it's somewhere around the 4-foot range. What you would think of regular fencing. Maybe slightly higher. I know that staff is looking and having discussions with the inspections department to look at what building codes require for residences and or businesses. But but it's just more in line with what typical construction kind of requires for businesses or commercial properties. 6 feet is very rare to find. That's usually kind of more of a security fence or a privacy fence that someone is finding in a backyard on a private property. From staff's perspective, and from police department's perspective, if I can speak for them, if not, Lieutenant Mahoney can correct me. The most important part of the fencing is to just ensure that there is a delineation between licensed premise and unlicensed premise, so that patrons know what is licensed and where they can have an alcoholic beverage in their hand, and what area is not licensed, which also can indicate and be clear to law enforcement whether somebody has an open container or is within a confined licensed premise. So long as that delineation, whether it be, you know, a living fence, shrubbery, a traditional fence, some sort of barrier that is, you know, within a height requirement that is not easily stepped over or stepped through, that is what would be sufficient from staff's perspective. However, we have not yet determined what would be the best for that. And it's also, we want to bring it forward as part of an entire overhaul of Chapter 33, just for to be able to see the entire chapter and how it's going to function and interrelate with one another. And so that's why that hasn't been brought forth. But that's kind of a summary of what our perspective.
Jen, thank you very much. Mark, I make a motion to approve. I make a motion to.
I have a question.
Hold on a second. Go ahead, Kathy, or Alder LaFave. Go ahead.
Yes, I think because they just passed the Sidewalk Cafe definition. Any Class B now bar can put tables out on the sidewalk, and people can be sitting out in the open. There's no confinement. There's no fencing. There's nothing. So what are we putting regulations on the patios? I don't understand this, because if you just opened up where they can just sit out in the open now and drink.
Attorney Bunger?
I'd like a definition.
Yes. So Alder LaFave, there is a difference between the Sidewalk Cafe ordinance and the outdoor premise requirements under Chapter 33. The Sidewalk Cafe ordinance applies to Class B establishments that want to put tables and chairs in city right-of-way, so a sidewalk. What this licensee is asking for is an outdoor premise or patio on their own private property.
Right, but I'm still saying, I think then we should be looking at, you know, you're saying should it be 6 feet, 5 feet, you know, you're kind of 4 feet.
Yeah,
fencing, to me, I just don't understand that when you're just allowing open consumption on the sidewalks now. So you're right, I know it's on their private property. We have to have some regulations, but I just.
And my understanding is for Sidewalk Cafe, when DPW is reviewing an application, they are looking to see if there are some sort of barriers that are being put up so that it is clear to both patrons, to both police officers, and to the licensee as well, as to what is part of that Sidewalk Cafe and what is not.
Okay, good, because, and then another thing too, when they do have that Sidewalk Cafe permit, they can put tables out, but they cannot take over the whole sidewalk, right?
Correct.
Kathy, or Alder LaFave, we'll have to talk about that at another time.
Yeah.
I appreciate your, looking at this. I guess one of the concerns or questions I have, Mr. Gregg doesn't seem to have an issue with going from 5 feet to 6, or he seems to be very amenable. It's just that it sees like we're in the middle here as far as a time frame. So it's kind of like he, as an owner, needs to know how to proceed.
Right.
So
currently the ordinance requires. Yes, so currently the ordinance requires 6 feet. His application, I know he's had discussions with the clerk's office and said he was amenable going to 6 feet. However, all we can do is go based on what he's presenting as his application, and that is what the committee is considering. And he provided 5 feet. which from staff's perspective, it satisfies what our concerns are as far as there is a sufficient delineation for the property. So it's clear as to what's licensed and what is not licensed premise. However, it still requires, because of the way that the ordinance is currently structured, it does require a waiver of that height requirement in order for his proposed plan of offense to be approved.
Well,
I do understand that he may be amenable to upping it to 6 feet, but as his application states, 5 feet, the safer thing would be to just waive those requirements. So it's on the record that the requirements are waived. If he chooses to move it to 6 feet, that is completely within his purview and he can do that. However, at least we have the assurance that it's not going to be any less than 5 feet.
Well, there's no time frame as far as this ordinance either, as far as, when this might be amended. So I don't want to hold him hostage in this case. I feel that he needs to move forward with his business plan. So he's amenable to it, but it takes a while, to relook at this ordinance. So I don't know. It's kind of
Mark, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, go ahead.
Whoa.
Yep. Alder Galvin? Alder Galvin?
Thank you. A couple of questions, and the first one is for Attorney Bungert.
Yes.
How much longer is it going to be that we're working on this ordinance? I have a request into your office from, I'm going to say safely because it's so long ago, but it's at least 3 years ago. And this item keeps coming before this committee. And a lot of time on it because I have reasons that I think the fences should be 6 foot. And I'm just wondering how much longer it's going to be before we finally get something where we can make a decision and save people all the time and effort of asking for a variance.
My understanding is staff is working on it. It is up high on the priority list. Unfortunately, our staff we have a significant backlog with respect to ordinance revisions. And there were some ordinance revisions that did post-date your request, Alder Galvin, but unfortunately, due to the nature of the issues with those ordinances, they had to take a higher priority and had to be dealt with sooner. But staff is focused on it. We are working on it and hope to have it in front of the committee as soon as we can.
All right. And then I was gone for part of the dissertation on this whole thing. Is there an ordinance limiting how high fences can be?
That I'm not aware of. As far as this ordinance, it says the requirement is at a minimum, it has to be 6. It does not provide a max. However, I'm not entirely sure if there are max height requirements with respect to building code requirements and or any kind of restrictions with respect to zoning or anything like that.
All right, because at one time it is still my understanding that privacy fences between residential properties can be no higher than 6 feet. Mm-hmm. And this ordinance was initially introduced because not only does it delineate between the bar property like you stated, but it was also there to prevent alcoholic beverages from being passed back and forth. If you're aware of the Cock and Bull bar where it's at, and this is, I'm not saying anything against the Cock and Bull, but just for example, this area is on the back side of the property adjacent to the parking lot. Now, if individuals had been kicked out of the bar or were intoxicated, not allowed into that establishment, they could easily be out in the back parking lot and have alcoholic beverages passed to them through or over the fence if it's not built in a manner to prevent this. And that's a lot of the reason why the ordinance was there in the first place. And again, whatever the council decides, the council decides. But I just want to make that point there. That was the purpose of the fence. Otherwise, we could paint a white line on the ground and say this is the property of the establishment, and this is where you can or cannot be. But I guess I'm feeling a lot of frustration with this ordinance. I understand about triage, but I think 3 years is getting to be quite a long time keep taking an ordinance revision and putting it on the back shelf. And again, like I said, this becomes almost a monthly situation with PMP and again at council where people are having to get these variances besides issues with alcohol enforcement. And that's all I have to say on this. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to ask Lieutenant Mahoney if has the police do they have any issues with this establishment with that? I didn't think there were. Lieutenant Mahoney?
No, we haven't had any issues with the Cock and Bull specifically. I do understand Alder Galvin's ideologies about, yes, one of our concerns is the passing of the alcoholic beverages. But with the Cock and Bull, the way this one is, if I'm remembering the back of the building correct, it's even built up a bit off the ground. So that's why with this one, we don't have an issue with it.
Okay, thank you. Committee, anybody else? Otherwise,
I wanted to make that motion, Mark.
Yes, go ahead, Alder.
I make a motion that we approve what's requested with the 5 foot. In other words, he's asking for the 5 foot fence, and I feel that we don't hear any negative as far as the police or the city attorney. So I feel that he's going to follow the rules on this. From hearing all the testimony and things, and I understand the city's working on getting this ordinance resolved, and I think they're going to get it resolved, and hopefully this we kind of can move on from this. But that would be my motion that we would grant the request.
Okay. Second that.
Okay, Vanderleest and seconded by Stevens. Yes, go ahead. Last time.
Yes, Alder Lefebvre. The question is then, we give this variance here for 5 feet, and then we do keep the ordinance at 6 feet. What happens to those who have it at 5 feet?
That's probably grandfathered, wouldn't it? Alder,
yeah, so we're grandfathering a lot in right now if we don't get this ordinance taken care of, and I will not support the 5 feet. I think Alder Galvin is right. It should be 6 feet because we do not want to allow people passing the alcohol outside of the business. Thank you.
Right.
I just want to make a quick comment.
Go ahead.
I think we've granted quite a few of them in at different heights. And I think the height restrictions, I think they're trying to make it more aesthetic as far as the appearance of the fences. And as far as some liquor from one spot to the other, people can put liquor in their coat, they can put it in their purse. And, if they're that bent on getting, a drink, I think, the establishment, I don't think they're promoting it. I don't think that the establishments are promoting, that they're going to be passing liquor from one area to the other. I think it's more of a, this is the rules, and I'm sure they're trying to follow the rules. And I don't think fence height really makes a big difference as far as, I think that the people that want to pass liquor, they're going to do it anyway. And I think the fence requirement, it's nice to have a fence requirement and it gives the public where it can be and where they're to stay. And I think that's all great. But as far as, 1 foot up or down, I don't think it makes a difference. I think more, the responsibility of the bar itself and the people that are there. I don't think illegal activities are illegal regardless of a fence height or not. Right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. All right, we have a motion and a second, and I'll just make one quick comment. Like I said, I don't want to hold the owner hostage here on this issue because we're still dealing with the ordinance. I think when it becomes 6 feet, if it comes to that point, then I agree that we move ahead that way, but I don't feel he should be penalized in this situation. So that's my thought. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the 5 foot? Aye. All opposed? Opposed? Kathy Lefebvre, you were opposed?
No, I guess I'll approve it because others have gotten it, but I believe the owner will go to 6 feet. He said he'd rather do that anyway, so I will approve it.
Okay, but he has the option to go to 5 feet, so, all right.
Right.
All in favor, we already voted on that, so that does pass.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
You bet,
Thanks.
So. All right, Attorney Bungert, when you're ready.
Yes. Yep, we are on item number 6.
Okay. Consideration with possible action on a renewal Class B beer 6-month license for the Pier Dodgers Baseball Club, Inc. at 1450 East Walnut Street. Staff?
I have to step away.
Okay. We're good with a quorum?
We still have a quorum.
Okay. All right.
I will just note that Alder Stevens stepped away and quorum remains.
Okay.
All right, I'll be right back though.
Okay,
right,
thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Is that the former bulldogs?
Bullfrogs.
Bullfrogs, yes. Yep,
Bullfrogs?
that's
Okay.
correct. Yes.
Okay.
So DePere Dodgers now have a lease that stadium.
Staff?
So they're yep. Staff has no objections.
Okay, police?
The police concur.
All right, I'd
I'll make
entertain
a
a motion.
motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, by LaFave, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vanderleest. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? That passes. Then I'll wait for you, Attorney Bunger.
Yep. Item number 7.
Number 7, consideration with possible action on a change of agent for PH Hospitality Group LLC at 859 Lombard. Staff?
Staff has no objections.
Police?
The police concur.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion. By Vanderleest, do we have a second? Second by LaFave. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? That passes unanimously.
All right, number 8.
Number 8, consideration with possible action on a renewal application for a Class B beer license by PH Hospitality Group LLC at 859 Lombardi Avenue, pending the approval of the change of agent at the May 19th Common Council meeting. Staff?
Law Department has no objections.
Police?
Police concur.
Okay, I didn't entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
By Vanderleest, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by LaFave. Any other discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously. I'll wait for you.
Item number 9.
Number 9, consideration with possible action on a charge of agent for Dino Shell LLC at 1828 South Ashland Avenue. Staff?
Law Department has no objections.
Police?
Police concur.
I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved by Vanderleest. Do we have a second? LaFave?
Yes.
LaFave? Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Please by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously.
Item number 10.
Number 10, consideration with possible action on a renewal application for a Class A beer and Class A liquor license by Dino Shell LLC at 1828 South Ashland Avenue, pending the approval of the change of agent at the May 19th Common Council meeting. Staff?
Law Department has no objections.
Police?
Police concur.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
By Vanderleest, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by LaFave. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously.
Item number 11.
Number 11, consideration with possible action on a 2020-2021 renewal application for a Class B combination license for 304 North Adams, Green Bay LLC at 304 North Adams Street with the agent. Staff?
Law Department has no objections.
Police?
Police concur.
I would entertain a motion.
Motion to
Make a
approve.
motion.
Motion by, I'll give it to LaFave, seconded by Vanderleest.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously. We'll just wait.
All right. Item number 12.
Number 12, consideration with possible action on a 2020-2021 renewal application for Class A liquor and Class A beer license for Walgreen Company at 1995 Main Street with a change of agent. Staff?
Law Department has no objections.
Police?
Police concur.
I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
by Vanderleest. Do we have a second?
Second.
By LaFave. Favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously.
Item number 13.
13, consideration with possible action on a 2020-2021 renewal application for a Class A liquor and Class A beer license for Walgreen Company at 1401 East Mason Street with a change of agent. Staff.
Law Department has no objections.
Police.
Police concur.
Can a motion?
Motion to approve.
No. Stevens.
Oh, we got someone different now.
He's back. By Alder Stevens, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vanderleest.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That passes unanimously.
1 second.
Okay.
All right. Item number 14.
14, consideration with possible action on a 2020-2021 renewal application for a Class B combination license for Wisconsin Apple LLC at 24 with a change of agent and change in description.
Law Department has no objections.
Police.
Please concur.
I would entertain a motion.
So
Motion
moved.
to approve.
So moved by
Second.
Alder LaFave. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Vanderleest. Any other discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed? That passes unanimously.
And item number 15.
15, consideration with possible action on a 2020-2021 renewal application for a Class B combination license for South Bay Marine Center, Inc. at 101 Bay Beach Road with a change of agent and change in description to buildings as indicated in the attached map, consisting of the office and storage areas, pool area, grassy area, surrounding patio, McDonald Marina. Staff.
Law Department has no objections.
Police.
The police concur.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to
So moved.
approve.
Motion to approve by Stevens. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by LaFave. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously.
All right, item number 16.
16, consideration with possible action on a renewal application for the 2020-2021 license here for Tenant LLC at 2475 West Mason Street. Staff.
Yes, so staff's recommendation at this point, based on information we've received, is to not renew this application as it's not, the business is not operational, not necessarily due to COVID-19, but was not operational prior to the COVID-19 shutdown, and that the licensee indicated to the clerk that they do not intend to reopen once the COVID-19 restrictions are lifted. However, they would like to retain the license in order to be able to transfer via sale. Unfortunately, our ordinances require that businesses be operational and only have a 60-day window during which they cannot be operational and or otherwise be subject to revocation of their license. Accordingly, our recommendation would be to deny, as it appears the business was not operational prior to the shutdown, and there's an indication that they're not intending to reopen and could therefore just be sitting vacant and shuttered. I do believe the licensee is present, so I would recommend that the floor be opened.
I will do that. I just have one quick question.
Yes.
Is there, would they have to reapply for a license, which might be, let's just say they decided that they'd like to get that down the road, they would have to reapply?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
They would have to apply for an available license. We do allow, while there is no mechanism by which a license can be transferred from business to business, what we do allow as far as our administration of licenses goes is when a current licensee who is currently operational is seeking to sell a business, we allow that licensee to surrender, and to the new business owner or the new licensee, and that licensee is applying for that specific available license. However, typically, there is a transfer mechanism, but it only applies in the event of a death, I believe. So there is no mechanism where you can just transfer a license. It does have to go through the whole application and review. There is no guarantee when you are purchasing a restaurant or a bar that's licensed that you're going to get that liquor license, as it's still subject to review and approval by the governing body. So,
Attorney Bungert, if the place would have been open beforehand, it would have the fact that it was not open and now the pandemic has moved in. So
correct. I believe the licensee did indicate to the chief of staff back in December that they were closed at that time, that they were hoping to reopen. Right. And we're working with whatever information we do have. That is why staff did want to hear from the licensee.
Okay.
Correct us if we are wrong or to confirm. So.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, this is for Attorney Bunger. If someone is considering buying the property, how do they go about getting some kind of insurance that they can get a liquor license?
There is no. Unfortunately, it's a risk of the business. There is no opportunity under the law to be able to transfer a liquor license as part of a real estate transaction. That is a separate part of the business, and it is incumbent on receiving approval from the governing body for that new business owner for that license to be approved for him or her.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I would.
Attorney Bungert?
Oh,
yes.
Hi. Yes, Celestine Jeffries, Chief of Staff. Just to be clear, when I had heard the owner of Tenant say that he was not open, that was at the Mayor's Beautification Awards, a celebration that I attended. So just to be clear, that was back in early December.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Alder Galvin.
Thank you. Just for a little historical issue on this thing. There was a time many years ago where people that owned an establishment and had a issued license would sell the establishment to a new buyer with the license attached, even though, like Attorney Bunker said, that's not supposed to happen. And there were some incidents in where it was found out later on that the owner had actually charged more because the license was transferred with the business. In that there's only so many licenses within the city of Green Bay. And if people hang on to those licenses, it prevents other people from opening up establishments. And so what happens in some of these cases is someone's business closed down, like there's one on the near east side of town, where the owner opens his business about once every 6 months, just enough to keep the license active so he can hang on to it. So if he ever he's attempting to sell his business for several years now, and he hangs on to that license because it makes it easier for him to sell that business if there's a license attached to it. And as you know, there's licenses are at a premium most of the time in Green Bay. So what's happened now is with so many people vying for these licenses, I can certainly understand why someone who owns a business like that would want to try and maintain the license with it to ensure that the sale would be able to go through. Thank you.
Very interesting. All right. Well, I'd like to hear from Mr. Campbell. So I entertain a motion to open the floor.
Motion to open the floor.
By Vanderleest. Do we have a second by Stevens? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, Mr. Campbell, can you hear us?
Yeah, thank you. I will save as much time of yours as possible.
First of all, state your name and address for the record.
Certainly. Jason Campbell at 3585 Blackberry Lane in Swamico.
Okay.
The city clerk office, the inspection office, and all of those individuals are perfectly aware of the process I've been through in the last 2 years. So we acquired a 40-year plus property that had a great deal of history here in town, right? So people are very much aware of the Blarney Stone in its day, and then Buster's for another 20 years after that. The Beautification Award was brought up by Ms. Jeffries here moments ago. Yes, we did. We were awarded that by the community, which we were far appreciative of. It is a testament to how much effort we put in to rehabilitate that 40 plus year property and turn it into something special yet again for another go. With that said, I've been completely having shut down at that time. I even had made it clear to the clerk that we were for sale, and we still are to this day. But now COVID has added a certain amount of complexity to the situation, as we're all very aware in our own regard for different reasons. As a property owner and a business, I would like to maintain the license for twofold. Number one, yes, for the opportunity to sell the property with a license, but I'm perfectly aware by all individuals that have stated that it's not a guarantee of a transfer. That's not the point. But the second is, now I own a property that is a restaurant specific in the middle of COVID, where I just got off the phone with the Restaurant Association for Wisconsin. They're not even expecting 50% of the mom and pop restaurants to reopen after the end of this because of the issues that they're going through in terms of financials. And I may be sitting on this for some time. And so I've got a mortgage. More to the point, I have a loan through the city, which we had done. Part of the, forgive me, I didn't get lunch and I'm short on brain calories here. But long story short, I mean, we're pretty indebted. And I think it would be a wise business move to perhaps reopen when this community is ready to do so. We had closed as a staffing issue. We were not able to maintain front of the house. I had asked a toxic person to leave. And as it turns out, as toxic as they were, they asked the rest of the front of house to go with them. It was a lovely experience. And at that point, we found it better to, at the time, temporary closure to regroup and figure out what we were going to do. The partnership didn't last through that, and I am the owner of both the property and the LLC. I have a single question, and then I guess ultimately I would like to offer a little bit of defense. So it's a question for Attorney Bungert. It was stated in the clerk's email that I am in violation of an ordinance to maintain the license if we're not operating. Which section is that? That is section 33.06 in operative or unissued licenses. It's a license which has been granted but not issued, or issued but not in continuous use in a manner indicating an ongoing business for a period in excess of 60 days is presumed invalid and shall be subject to revocation unless otherwise authorized by the Common Council. Right. It was the last 5 words that I was going to state. So unless otherwise authorized by the council. So the council does have authorization to allow this to be extended, even though we are not operating. I would like the opportunity to retain it with the idea that it is a possibility for me to reopen as a wise business move, because without the cash flow of both it open or the opportunity to sell it, because nobody's going to be looking for a property in the near time future with 50% of the restaurants shutting down. I'd like to have that. And then furthermore, in section 3307, if this were to be taken away, I would need to have some grounds for it to be pulled in subsection of 3. And we have obeyed everything that has ever been asked of us. There's never been a visit by the City of Green Bay Police. We have done everything in all regards where it was a classy operation, and we've maintained code in the building. We had it inspected for the renewal. We've done everything in every regard. We've played nice, so to speak. And so with that being said, I would greatly appreciate another extension for this 1-year renewal. At least, number one, allow me to open if I chose to and react to the lightning of the COVID shutdown, or number 2, give me that year to sell the estate if that is. But if I can't sell it, then perhaps it would be best to reopen. and I know it's kind of a chicken egg or chasing my own tail, but I think both of those are valid. If the city of Green, the police department could speak, if they've ever risen, I think many individuals here had visited the restaurant, or at least I would have hoped so. This was a fine place,
Right.
and we were never in any violation.
So you'll have an opportunity to speak one more time.
It's fair. No, go ahead.
I would make a motion to entertain a motion to close the floor.
Second.
Okay, but who authorized that?
Vanderleest.
Vanderleest, do we have a second? Second by Stevens, all in favor? Aye, all opposed. I see all the Burnett's here. That's your district.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I don't technically know if it's my district or Alder Vanderleest.
Actually, that's pretty close.
Yeah, it's right on the border. Now, about a year ago, I did talk to Mr. Campbell, and he expressed some concerns at that time getting a liquor license, and it was resolved. And very unfortunate, sad to see that business model there didn't work out. But I think we as a council should grant the gentleman, his wishes to renew the liquor license. I think he gave two very compelling reasons to do it. And if he can make a go of it, the fact that according to what he said, many businesses are going to be failing, unfortunately, I don't think we need to put another burden or barrier for an existing business, although it's not currently open, to put another barrier up for them to not work out. I don't think it's appropriate. One thing to keep in mind too is that particular parcel of land, I just looked it up now, the property tax that parcel of land generates for the taxpayer in this community is nearly $14,000. So if we as a city can extend the ability for him to keep that license, the two purposes he stated very clearly, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's looking out for the business community and trying to make things a little easier for them as we transition to a post-COVID way of life. So that would be my recommendation. He is correct. Business is beautiful. The way that the work was done, the improvements made, the types of meals and services that business provided were great for the area, great for the neighborhood. And we're not doing anything out of the ordinary. That has been a bar, although, tenant wasn't technically fully a bar, but they did serve alcohol. But that is not out of the ordinary what that neighborhood had seen for years. So I would be in favor of allowing the liquor license to continue for another year. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Burnett. Committee, anybody?
I'd like to make a motion on that.
Go ahead.
Alder Vanderleest, I'd make a motion that we grant him another year to renew his license, to give him the possibility to reopen his bar and restaurant due to the situation that we're facing right now with the COVID-19. And I definitely would support it 100%. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have Alder LaFave, did you want to say something first?
No, I guess I'll go with it. Otherwise, I was going to say maybe we could do it 6 months, but I'll go ahead with the year.
Okay, so you second that?
Yes.
Yes, okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes. Anybody opposed? That passes unanimously.
So that was a
Campbell?
motion to approve the renewal application,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Mr. Campbell, good luck.
No, I appreciate your time. All of you. Be well.
Okay.
Okay, one moment.
All right.
Item number 17.
Okay. Number 17, consideration with possible action on the various liquor and/or beer licenses renewal applications for the 2020-2021 license year, with changes in their license description from the 2019-2020 license year. See attached. Staff.
Law Department has no objections.
Police?
The police concur.
Okay, there's quite a few there, so I'm glad you looked at them all. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Stevens. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vanderleest. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously.
Mark, I just have a quick question for the city attorney.
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead. Go ahead.
On these applications, this is where we reduce the fee down to $50. Is that correct?
Depending on the type of license, that reduction applied to Class B licenses, and those went down to the statutory minimums.
And that was the $50. Is that correct?
For the Class B liquor, correct.
Okay. Now, with that Class B liquor, would that include like a regular bars or bars?
So there's two. For a bar, they would have a Class B beer and a Class B liquor. The Class B beer, I believe, went down to 0, and the Class B liquor went down to 50.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Yes, item number 18.
18. Consideration with possible action on the renewal applications for various liquor and/or beer licenses for the 2020-2021 license year. See attached. Staff?
Law Department has no objections.
Police?
Please concur.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Stevens. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by LaFave. Any other discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously.
All right, item number 19.
19, a request by Alder Brunette for consideration with possible action on Green Bay Common Council to begin meeting a minimum of twice a month effective June 2020. There are too many crucial or critical issues requiring attention and action to meet once a month. We answer to the public, and more regular meetings are necessary and convenient for the public, previously discussed at the April 27th Protection and Policy Committee meeting. Alder Brunette is here. Alder Brunette?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I think my statement speaks for itself. If you recall at the last meeting, City Attorney Chavez was going to look at clarification on if that was a decision made by the mayor or by the council. So I would ask through you, City Attorney's office, if they could give some clarification if we could just change that through action of council, or if it needs to be done through action of the mayor's office.
Yes, so City Attorney Chavez is on the line, so I will defer this item to her.
Okay.
Hello, Alders. So
Hello.
I did look into this, and under our ordinance, section 2.01, it states that our regular meetings are held on the first and third Tuesday of each month, and that one of the regular monthly meetings of the council may be canceled, or the council may be canceled or rescheduled each month upon 15 days written notice by the mayor to the clerk for good cause or upon 1 day notice. And so with the calendar having been established at the beginning of the year, so essentially what I'm saying is that the calendar has already been established. They met the 15-day period even for not having good cause. And so the calendar requirements have been met for those to be canceled. There is nothing in our ordinances that meetings back on, except for special meetings. And again, those are at the call of the mayor, with permission of the council president, or in the absence, council vice president. And so at this point, my recommendation would be to submit this to the mayor for his consideration.
Alder Brunette?
Yeah, I think based on the issues that we deal with as a council, and the fact that constituents, property owners, taxpayers come to us and have very pressing issues that are important to their life and their livelihoods, I think it would be appropriate for the council to begin meeting again twice a month and keep that regular schedule. I voted along with it. I believe Alder Dorf a couple of years ago, you made the recommendation that we go down to one meeting per month in the summer months. I voted for it. I feel comfortable meeting one time a month for many of the months out of the year. I think there are at least 4 or 5 where we're only going to be meeting one time per month. So I understand what Attorney Chavez said, but short of asking the mayor, I think an action of the council to reestablish meetings twice a month effective June 2020, if that was a motion of the council, I think that would be appropriate. Again, it's not any division or frustration with the mayor's office, but we do report to the public, and the public should have access to the city through regular meetings of their city council. So I would just like to reverse that and ask the committee to recommend reestablishing twice per month meetings and moving forward from there. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Alderdorf. Go ahead, Vanessa, then I'll get to Alderdorf.
Thank you, Alder. So just to clarify, under current ordinances, there is no mechanism for the council to establish the date. That is something that would need to be sent to the mayor's office.
Are you okay with that, Alder Burnett?
I mean, I read some, I did a little research. Of course, I'm not an attorney, but I did a little research, and I thought per state statute that we had a little more flexibility to set the meetings from the council level, but I'd have to look into a little more, of course.
Okay. Alderdorf?
And what we're dealing with right now is the fact that we have an ordinance which establishes it, establishes when we have our meetings, and then allows the mayor to cancel them, which has been done.
Okay. I'd like to hear from Alderdorf, and then we'll get to the committee. Alderdorf?
Thank you. So yes, when I made the motion a few years ago, it was to continue to have one meeting a month over the summer, which had been a precedent for quite a while. And then, I looked at this. Well, of course, in June, we already have 2 meetings scheduled. If you look at July and then the week of the 4th, it would be difficult to get any committee meetings in between the meetings. Sure how much we would have to do. I mean, if there was 1 or 2 topics, then the mayor could call an emergency meeting, as he's already done. But the same kind of happens when you look at September with the Labor Day week. Now, maybe this year it's a little different with COVID, but it's difficult to get those in between committee meetings in because there's the vacation weekend, those 2 vacation weekends in there, and sometimes it's hard for people to be around. Now, I see we have already established a precedent, for example, with Alder Weary, where he was able to call in from Tennessee, and perhaps if in the future, if someone were on council were to be gone, or a member of the city staff were to be on vacation in future normal years, maybe there would be more potential to have that person call in while they were, on their vacation. But we really, July and September would be 2 difficult months to have those extra meetings. So that brings us down to 1 month, August, because we have 2 meetings in June, 2 in October, 2 in November, and 2 in December. They're already on the schedule. So we're really talking about August, unless we can somehow figure out how to squeeze in a whole bunch more committee meetings in July and September. Thank you.
I'd like to make a point. I think thank you, Alderdorf. What Alder Burnett brings up, though, I think is a good point too. And I think, especially, with these Zoom meetings and that, we've had some very long meetings. And I don't know if it's just because of, the pandemic and what, but some of the meetings have been very, very long. And it seems to me that if we could split that up a little bit more and have shorter meetings somewhat, with agenda items being able to split the 2 meetings rather than 1, I would be all in favor of that type of thing. So I go ahead, Alderdorf.
Well, but we've had 2 meetings a month. So how would it make the meetings any shorter?
I'm looking at August. I was looking at August. I agree. I think, of course, in December we've got Christmas too. So.
Well, but we have it this 1st and 15th, and just the way that those weeks fall, it works out pretty well.
Yeah.
It does.
Does anybody else? Okay, I appreciate your comments. Anybody else? Any other alders or committee would like to chime in on this? Alder Stevens.
Regarding our meetings being long, the last couple of meetings is due to the fact because of the election.
Okay. Well,
That's why we've
regardless.
been having longer meetings.
Well, of course. Okay. All right. Well point. Good point. Go ahead, Alder.
Vanderleest, like this to make a comment?
Oh,
go. Alder Vanderleest.
Alder Vanderleest.
I feel that, there's an ordinance in effect already as far as the schedule of the meetings. I think that we got to follow the ordinance for right now. As far as, the meetings being long, some meetings, that's just the way they run. And as far as, if we don't have a meeting, twice every month, it gives the people a little bit of break from the staff and the people that are attending as far as the altars. I think we've done a pretty good job. I don't have I know that, last year they took, the city workers took off on Friday afternoon. And I think that was received pretty well as far as, giving them a little bit of break so they get a little longer weekend. But I think as far as how the meetings are scheduled, I think we're doing okay. I don't have a real problem with what's going on right now. And, I understand, there's a lot of things on our plates, but that's just the nature of it right now. And I think we've done a good job overall. I don't have a lot of complaints from my constituents that we're, not getting the job done. So I guess I'm comfortable with what we're doing right now. Thank you.
Okay.
I agree with John.
Okay. Alder LaFave, do you have anything to add to that? Alder LaFave?
Yes. I think right now the schedule is probably okay because it's already been set. We went through a couple months where we only had one meeting where we could have had two. I can see in the winter months, doing two, and I can see in the summer. The reason I voted for the summer one that we had last year is because of a lot of people are on vacation. It's a little different in the summer months, what we do. And then we also changed the hours at the City Hall. We had the Friday closed. So it was a different situation then. But I think we're already we're not quite half through already with the year. And I think the way things are set right now, I think there's a discussion that we could send to the mayor. I can see that, stating that we should look at next year having 2 meetings all the months, except I would consider June, July, and August, just once a month. But this is something I think that we can discuss with the mayor, and we're already pretty much set in a year that I don't think right now that we should change things the way it's set.
We can always have an emergency meeting as well. That can always be called. But okay. Anything else? Alder Burnett, you've spoken twice, so I don't know if there's anything else you want to add. Otherwise, I'm going to have this go back to committee.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think I spoke once, but that's
all right.
Fine. Yeah.
Okay. I entertain a motion then, if anybody would like to bring that forward.
Motion to receive and place in file. Is that correct?
Would that, Attorney Bungert, I mean, if in order to have the mayor take a look at this, would that be the appropriate?
No, for the mayor to take a look at it, I believe City Attorney Chavez mentioned it would be a motion to refer to the mayor's office for consideration.
Okay, I'm referred to the mayor's office.
Okay. By Stevens, do we have a second? Second by LaFave. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alder Burnett?
No, that's fine. I had a comment, but you've already voted, so that's fine.
Okay, we should work out that way. Okay, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously. All right.
All right. Item number 20.
Okay, number 20. Hold on a second. Let me get that. Excuse me. 20. Okay, we have a request by Alder Burnett to the Protection and Policy Committee for consideration with possible action on allowing the public to address the City Council on non-agenda items at each full common council meeting. For example, this could be to allow up to 3 or no more than 5 minutes per speaker. Alder Burnett.
Thank you, Chairman. It was a comment I received from a member of the public. Commented on something I threw out there on Facebook, and they asked to consider this. this was something that the county board did when I was a member of that body. I don't know how long they did it, and I don't know if they still do it, but basically at the beginning of a full county board meeting, they would open up the floor to hear from anyone who would like to address the entire body. And, every meeting, hit or miss, one or two people might say something, but it was very rare for that to happen. But I always liked it personally because it was an opportunity for the public to address their government, their elected representatives as a whole on any issue that they would like to. And sometimes good ideas came of that. Sometimes some of the speakers were way off course on tangents, and the chairman of the board had to, rein it in a little bit. So I personally liked it. If we put some restrictions on it, and kept it, tight to a minute range, I think it's worth looking into. So those are my comments.
Okay. Attorney Chavez.
Alder Lefebvre, I have some information on that.
Go ahead.
The county board, yes, did that. And and I did approve. I believe that was a great thing that they did that. But now with the way we're running our meetings, we're on Cisco WebEx. We do not do that now. We had the Wisconsin County Associations to weigh in on it, and they recommend that we not do it because then it makes the meetings so long when you're on these types of programs that we're doing. So they will, I'm sure, when we go back to regular meetings, but we're not doing it right now.
Okay.
I just want to make a quick comment.
Oh, go ahead, Alder Vanderlist.
Generally speaking, they don't act on anything that the person from the public, they don't act on anything, during that meeting. It's strictly not acted upon. Just so you understand, that's how we do it at the county. They get the information, and that's what it's just information that's given. Nothing is acted upon at that when they come forward. So,
Alder Vanderlist, is there a time frame that they have? Is it a
generally
certain part
3
of the
to 5
meeting?
minutes, no more than 5 minutes? That's. But
is it a separate agenda item, or is it depend on what's going on?
It would be comments from the public.
Okay.
In other words, they would address it as comments from the public. Yeah, but
it's on the agenda. Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's how they work it. Thank you.
All right. Attorney Chavez, did you want? I thought I saw your phone on.
Yes, sir. So I think it would be important if this is a route that the council would like to go, that this be referred to staff for the purpose of drafting some rules that would be established. The reason being is that if the council goes this way, what we're essentially doing is creating a designated public forum during council meetings. And so we need to have some clear parameters as to what the public can do and also what the council can do. As some of the elders have alluded to, the purpose of this is specifically just to let people talk and usually just a designated period of time. We can't control anything they say outside of maybe speaking with profane attacks or making libelous statements. So anything goes. They can come in and just basically criticize what people are wearing, and we have to let them talk because they're in a designated public forum. And so the limitations that we impose on them have based on a specific topic don't necessarily apply. Like, they can talk about anything, not just anything that's on the agenda. And then as one of the elders stated, it is that the council cannot participate in any of the discussion. It's literally just an opportunity for the public to talk in their public forum, and they'll be able to engage in any kind of questions or debate because it would not be a specific item on the agenda. It would just fall under something like comments from the public. And if any action needed to be taken on a follow-up, then it would be actually put it onto the agenda as a new agenda item. So if this is something that the council is interested in pursuing, it is definitely something that can be done. Whether or not it has been a continued practice depends on who you talk, and a lot of attorneys discourage, a lot of city attorneys discourage the practice because it does create a public forum, which allows people to come and talk about anything that they want during a council meeting. And the only thing we can do is really restrict time, place, and manner. So usually that means like giving a time frame and sticking to it. But at the same time, it's also a really welcome, a welcome practice from many legislators' perspectives, because it does allow people to come and voice their opinions in front of the council. So it's entirely up to council to pursue. Our recommendation would just be that if it is something the council pursues before it is adopted, it'd be sent to staff for us to put together those ground rules that have to be followed both by the public and the council, so that it's clear at the outset.
Okay. Alder Burnett, does that sound like something that is okay?
Yeah, I like it. Just in reference, in 4 years I was on the county board, that I recall, there was only one situation where someone was a little out of line, and the chairman of the time let that person speak, and it really wasn't much of an issue. I will also say that if I recall, the Green Bay School District allows this. And a few years ago, there was a teacher, if I recall, from Washington Middle School that spoke, and she really laid before the school board, to the point that the school board then decided to act on some issues that have been going on at Washington Middle School. So I think it is a good avenue for the public to address the full council, share ideas, share concerns. And then, I do think it's appropriate to refer to staff from a legal standpoint. And hey, if they push forward something, a recommendation, and we act on it, there's no harm in trying this for a year and reevaluating at that time. So I think that Attorney Chavez's point of referring to staff, I think, is appropriate and a good idea at this point.
Alder
Gerlach.
Thank you.
Gerlach?
I pushed my button, but I don't think that you can see it. So I think this is ill-advised. I would recommend against it. I think that there are two reasons. One is that you have a committee system whereby specific concerns can be addressed in the committee that is specifically set up to address that kind of concern. And the other reason is that the Common Council meetings are very open and public, and they are streamed on YouTube. I know that there are some Facebook pages that stream them live, and I think that it could be an invitation to people to grandstand and to waste a lot of time of the council and the staff and people who've come there for the agenda that was posted. I think it opens a can of worms. If you didn't have committees to address specific things, maybe, but I would stick with the system that you have. I would recommend against this.
Alder Dorf?
Okay.
Alder Dorf, go ahead.
Yeah, I would also recommend against it. Citizens have a very clear path right now to bring things before council. First of all, if there's a concern, they call one of their alders. Lots of the times we can help alleviate that concern by putting them in touch with the right person, the right department, figuring things out for them immediately. Then if that doesn't necessarily work, then maybe the alder has to put in a communication and it goes to a committee. And then we do our committee work and we talk through things. And then, of course, anything from committee can also be talked about on the floor. So I would definitely be against this only because there's an alternate way that has worked very well for people to bring things forward to City Council. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Go ahead, Alder LaFave.
I kind of would think it would be a good thing. For the county, I was glad that some people came forward because I was not aware of it. And sometimes they don't always get to their supervisor right away, and the meeting is there and they will express it. Sometimes it's easier to tell everyone, bring it out more. And then what happens is one of the supervisors will then make a communication later on the item that was brought forward. I think it's a good way for the public to inform all of us what's going on. And I'm not going to say there's alders who don't do their job, but sometimes you might have an alder who's not doing exactly what they should be doing. And I think it's a good thing for the public to be able to come and speak. I don't think we should be afraid of them. I just think it'd be a good idea. I love it that the county does this. And it's an actual agenda item. We do it before we open up the rest of the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Committee, I would entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we send it to the staff to do the, in other words, as far as how it's to be worded. If we're going to go forward with it, I'd say that the staff should be the first to be involved as far as if we're going to, give the public a chance to speak at our meetings. I recommend we refer to staff for more communication, more work. That'd be my motion. I'd support the motion.
Okay. Do we have a second? I'll second it.
Oh, okay. Can I mention one other thing too?
Okay, then quickly.
No, I just was going to say, I got one of those that you had to, a brain fart. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. We got a motion and we have a second. All in favor of the motion? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? What are the nays? Who said nay?
Nobody.
Oh, I thought somebody said
Nobody.
nay.
No.
All right.
Oh, the one thing I was going to quick say was that I don't think we're going to have an issue with a lot of people coming forward. It's a little different maybe than the county, but with the city, people are going to contact their alder. So I don't think we're going to have a lot of people coming forward. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All in favor, we all said aye. So that passes.
Yep.
Okay. Attorney Bungert, when you're ready.
Yes. Item number 21.
Okay. A request by Alder Wery to the Protection and Policy Committee. Oh, excuse me. I just lost it here for a second. 21. Which states request obtaining bids, quotes from consultants for an external election review of processes and administration of the April 7th, 2020 election. Preference should be given to attorneys with election law experience, current or former municipal clerks or inspector general positions. I got a text from Alder Wery. He's at work right now, and this is what he stated to me. He says, I am in favor of my request. Please discuss and move to council. So that's his request. So I don't know if committee or alders, if anybody would like to chime in on this. Anybody?
I would say that we refer to the city council and let the city council decide if they want to, try to get the bids in motion, or if they don't, that the city council would be the ruling factor if they want to go forward with getting bids and, the quotes and things that he's requesting. Okay. That would be my motion to refer to city council and, get it as an agenda item on city council and then see if we want to go that route.
Okay.
Can I?
Alder Dorf. Hold on, Alder LaFave. Alder Dorf.
Didn't we do this already? Didn't we do this already? It seems like at the last meeting we talked about it and people didn't want to spend $40,000 and people didn't want to spend the money. I thought we did this already. How many times do we take a kick at the same cat? I'm just curious if anyone else recalls.
I guess I'm wondering about that as well. And I don't know if somebody else.
Attorney Chavez wants to talk.
Well, yeah, Attorney Chavez.
So I wasn't going to weigh in on whether or not it's something that should be in front of them. I was going to say that when this item is decided, who should be votes from the staff level should be identified, whether it be myself or potentially the HR director.
Okay. So can we make a motion to receive and place on file?
Yes, that would be a proper.
That's my motion.
I would
okay. Do we have a second?
Kathy LaFave, second.
Kathy Fave. All right. There's a few more comments before we vote.
There's the reason this is going to council. It's going to be
Right, no doubt. Alder Burnett?
I believe Alder Gerlach had her hand up first.
All right, Alder Gerlach?
Thank you, Alder Burnett. Yes, I would urge you not to do this. I would urge you not to commit city funds to do this. We have established a committee to look at what went wrong and what should be done in the future to make it right. I think we need to put all our resources on making it right. We have less than 6 months to make this right. It isn't necessary to hang anyone. It is necessary to figure out what went wrong and make it right. We don't have to point fingers and target someone and make someone pay the price. And we certainly don't need to use city money to do that. I would urge you not to do this. I would like to see it ended. We have a committee to look at this. Thank you.
Okay. Alder Burnett? Alder Burnett, did you want to?
Yeah, if I could. I don't want to speak for Alder Weary, but I think it is different than what we have discussed in the past. At the full city council meeting, the quote from our city attorney was up to $4, and the council, agreed that was a rather high amount. And so I believe Alder Weary was looking at other alternatives outside of an attorney. And as I stated at the last city council meeting, there are other options. The city of Milwaukee has a inspector general, I believe. There's a possibility of having a county clerk not affiliated with the city or our Brown County clerk to do a review of our election. And I believe that there is no harm in getting the price estimate, because if the council, and I agree, $40,000 seems like, not a good use of taxpayer dollars. But if we could look at having an independent set of eyes look at our election, the administration of our election, we owe at least another look to the folks who did not have an opportunity to vote or were waiting in line. So it is different. It's not the same. I suspect Alder Stevens is correct. We will counsel and have a discussion there, but I'm against receiving and placing on file. I believe that the city should look at some opportunities to do a thorough review outside of City Hall at a cost that's much less than $40,000. There are possibilities out there. I don't believe for a second that our only options are spending $40,000 or doing it entirely inside of City Hall. There are other options out there, and I think we need to explore that as a council. Thank you. That's all.
Okay.
I got a question.
Alder Galvin? Alder Galvin?
Thank you, Chair. My understanding of what took place at committee and council meetings reference the election is that the majority of the council members believe the answer of what went wrong and who's responsible for what happened during the vote has already been answered. And even though Alder Burnett thinks it was only because of the $1,000 that we balked at that wasn't my impression. My impression was had those questions answered, and that there is no desire to have any kind of an investigation done. To even have staff spend time, again, trying to get quotes from different people, and all the time that goes into that, and then to have this taken up again at our council meeting. Again, we talk about time. How many times, again, and Alder Dorff asked us, how many times are certain council members going to be going at this thing before they, and it's like they're looking for any little loophole, any little angle they can to try and get their will on what happened during an election. And we just keep beating this thing over and over again. I don't know if the attempt is just to keep it in the public eye, to try and convince people due diligence, or if they have some kind of a hidden agenda here. And I'm not sure what it is, because I'm not hearing a sufficient explanation as to this that I haven't already heard before at other meetings. And it's getting old really quick. We have processes in place now to make sure we do better in August, November, beyond. And I think that's where we need to be putting our efforts. Thank you.
Okay. All right. there was a motion made, correct?
Alder Story, to clarify, there was a motion made by Alder Vanderleest to refer this to staff.
It wasn't.
City Attorney Chavez did clarify that it needed to be specified to what staff. However, a second was not called. So that motion needs to either, and then there was a secondary motion made to receive and place on file, but Alder Vanderleest's motion needs to be either seconded, or it will fail for lack of second, and then we can take action on Alder Stevens's motion.
There was no second.
Was there a second on the first motion?
No.
All right, so that motion fails for lack of second.
So then we have
So now we have a motion. Yes, so now we have a motion to receive and place on file by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Lefebvre. And then that is the motion that can be voted on at this time.
Okay, all in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. Can I make a comment about that new committee?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, that ad hoc committee on elections, their first meeting date is Thursday at 5 p.m.
Okay.
This Thursday, the 14th.
I'm going to make a comment too. I've gone back and forth with this issue too, and I think it's been difficult, but I feel like it's time to move on too a little bit. I'm thinking the ad hoc committee would be a good route to go for this, so I will vote to receive and place on file on this as well.
Can you give me the time for that meeting again?
Sure, it's 5 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay, so we have the vote. Is the vote in now?
So just to clarify, the motion is to refer to the ad hoc committee? Okay.
Was that it? I thought, go ahead.
I thought Attorney Chavez's recommendation was to refer this to staff, either to the city attorney or the HR director or to another staff member. The committee felt appropriate.
Just to clarify, if it gets referred to staff to be conducted, we need to specify which staff is going to be doing it.
But it's being put on file, received and placed in file.
Oh, that's right. Then, right, correct. So, sorry, there were a lot of motions on this item. So the first motion to refer to staff failed for lack of second. Now we have a motion to receive and place on file. And that motion was by Alder Stevens, yes. And the vote took place and that was approved.
Okay, what was the vote on that? 3-1?
It was unanimous. It was a roll call.
It was unanimous?
Vote. Yep.
Okay.
I didn't hear any nays, so.
All right.
We didn't ask for any nays.
Is there a nay? Is there a nay?
Be one nay.
One nay. Okay.
Okay, one moment. So can we do a roll call vote then? So Alder Stevens?
Yes.
Alder Vanderleest?
Nay.
Alder Stoyer?
Yes.
Alder Lefebvre?
Yes.
All right, that motion to receive and place on file passes 3-1 with Alder Vanderleest voting no.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Yep, 1 second. All right, item number 22.
22, consideration with possible action on a request by Alder John Vanderleest to the Protection and Policy Committee to request to review the policies and procedures for curbside voting for the remaining elections and how to communicate curbside voting information to all voters and poll workers in Green Bay. Alder Vanderleest?
Thank you.
Oh, I have to leave.
You got to leave? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to refer that to the 9-member committee that's going to be discussing the election and moving forward with our August election as well and our November election. I'd like to make sure that the 9-member committee that they take it up and they find a good solution as far as how they handle the curbside voting. That a person that comes that's handicapped, that doesn't have anybody with them, then they're just in the car, that that there'd be somebody there to greet them as far as so that they can get their vote, to get their ballot to them, that they don't have to wait for a long period of time. And I'm sure the committees, they're going to look at that, because I know at the last election, the curbside voting was not addressed properly. So I referred to the committee, and I'm taking full confidence in the committee that's, going to handle the voting, and our clerk, and I know they want to do the right thing, and that's all I'm asking. Just that the curbside voting be addressed and that they get a good plan. That's all I'm looking for on that. So
I've got a question.
Alder LaFave. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Alder LaFave.
Yes, I believe too that the curbside voting should definitely be looked at. I wonder if they should check with Milwaukee, because they did before the election. I know they did curbside absentee ballot voting, and I think they did it during the elections too. They could check with Milwaukee and maybe some other communities how they handle that, because I think we can do that and we can make an improvement on it. I think it's a very good idea.
Chris Teskey, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, people are getting curbside voting and drive-through voting mixed up.
Okay.
I do have documentation for our meeting on Thursday, the difference. We always have curbside voting during open voting. Kim and I have gone out many times to the parking lot and have assisted people. The curbside voting that was done on April 7th is the same that it's been done in the 15 years that I've been there. But, and drive-through voting is totally different. And I just want to state, just keep that in mind so that on Thursday when you're listening, you'll see the difference.
Okay. Right.
Unless you want me to get into it now.
Anybody have questions? Okay.
No, I think that'd be good for the committee to go through.
I guess here's a question I have, and I know Alder Dorff, you had made a communication or pulled that at council as far as his committee, the makeup of the committee, and I know that at one time names were mentioned, so I'm wondering where that's at, and I don't know if that's Attorney Chavez that we need to talk to her, or what is the makeup of the committee for the ad hoc committee? Has that been established? I mean, the names of the people.
Yeah, that is the mayor's office who's doing the determination on who gets appointed. I don't know the exact people.
Okay, so that should be common knowledge very shortly.
Well, I know, but Celestine Jeffries was kind of the one that sent the email out, and if she's still on here, maybe she could speak.
Yes,
okay,
hi, this is Celestine Jeffries, Mayor's Chief of Staff. So the committee is comprised of 9 people. Currently, we have Clerk Teskey, Alder Weary, myself, Kim Waite will be the meeting manager. Then we have 5 members from the community: Susan Smith, Attorney Susan Smith, Professor Allison Staudinger, H. James Smith from COVO, which is an organization that helps people vote, Karen Schley and Terry Racine, who, Chris, correct me, I think they are both chief inspectors. One was at East and one was at West. Is that correct, Chris?
That's correct.
That is the company.
Right.
That is good. And the agenda is published.
Okay, good. That's all I needed. Point of clarification. All right. So where are we at on this item? Did somebody refresh me? I'm sorry.
My motion was to refer to the committee as far as for the handicapped voters that.
All right.
How the voting gets done for a handicapped person that drives up to the polls, that the committee takes full go ahead with it as far as the committee. Thank you. That'd be my motion.
Is there a second? Do we have? Okay, a second by Alder LaFave. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that passes. Let me know when you're ready.
Yes. Item number 23.
Okay. 23. Hold on a second here. 23. Consideration with possible action on a request by Alder Bill Galvin to the Protection and Policy Committee that plans be made and implemented by July 20th to avert any future problems with in-person voting and absentee voting. This is to include training of staff and volunteers, obtain necessary equipment, establish secondary voting sites and any other resources needed. Alder Galvin?
Thank you, Chair. And I would be okay with a recommendation that this just be passed on to the committee that's going to be meeting shortly on this. At the time I put this in, there was nothing in place. It wasn't guaranteed it was even going to happen. But I think that for the purposes of planning, training, and budgeting, we need to have a solid plan in place by July 20th so that it can be implemented for the August election, and if it needs any changing after that, for the November election. So I just wanted to make sure we were following a process with some timelines to make sure that things move along and they don't languish, and then we end up with another situation in August. So if someone wants to make a recommendation to, receive and place on file, or just push this timeline forward to the committee that'll be meeting, I'm happy with either one.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to move it to ad hoc.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by, motion by, okay, motion and second by Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously.
Can I make a quick comment on that?
Sure.
Yes, I believe this should definitely very good comments by Alder Galvin on this. And I didn't get a chance to email Chris Teskey, but I do believe like establishing secondary voting sites. I think we should have definitely really pushed that, having settled. We only had it at the bus depot, and the hours weren't very good. I think it was 1 to 4. And you can only have 5 people at a time, so it really limited. So I think if we can maybe set something like that up, I will also, hopefully I'll be at attend the ad hoc committee, and I'll bring that up there too. Okay? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Attorney Bungert, are we ready?
Yep, we are on the liquor violation report.
All right. The liquor violation report for May 11th, 2020. Lieutenant?
We have no violations during this time.
No, very good.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Okay, by Stevens. Do we have a second? Second by LaFave. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? How about a motion to adjourn? Anybody?
Motion to adjourn.
By Vanderleest. Do we have a second? Second by LaFave. All in favor? Yay.
Yay.
All right. I'm done. Anybody else?
It was a good meeting. Good meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.